Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome once again to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. We also create comics because that's what we're doing right now. What we've been doing for the past 50 some odd days is working on my own personal project, my own personal comic book project, Young and the Dead. This one right here, Young and the Dead, no zombies allowed. It's a kids versus zombies story, kind of in the spirit of Goonies and Night of the Living Dead. That's what I'm working on for this challenge. And the challenge, how this works if you're new, is you spend 30 minutes a day, every day, working on your own personal comic book project until, and you do that for 100 days, and then hopefully you get a lot done on your comic book. And there's a lot of people involved with the challenge right now, so I want to cheer all you people on. Hopefully you're doing pretty well. I'm doing all right. The videos the videos are taking quite a bit of time to edit and everything, and I'm always thinking, well, what if I spent that time on my comic? But I like talking to you guys. I like putting these videos out and being part of the community, because that's a big part of it too. Letting people know via updates, via YouTube, via vlogs, via whatever, Instagram, however you want to do it, but let people know about your challenge and make sure you stick to that 100 days. It's really important that you kind of do that in a row. You do it straight, because if you miss a day, I mean, it's okay, you can kind of go back, but if you miss a day, sometimes it's hard to get back to it. So it's important that we stick to that. So where am I within this challenge? Well, I am at day, oh, we're getting there. We're getting somewhere here. Hold on. Get the big fat Sharpie. Day 59. We're moving up. We're getting almost to 60. So we jot this down on the big fat pad of paper, just so we can keep track of where we are in this challenge, so we don't get lost. And what are we talking about? What have we been talking about for the past couple days? We've been talking about characters and designing your characters and creating your characters. We talked a little bit about the visual aspect of that. We talked about giving your characters some personality, and there's so much more to all this stuff. I just kind of touched the surface on a lot of this stuff just to kind of get the conversation moving. But when I do these little things, I'm just kind of spitballing off the top of my head. So there's a lot of things I leave out, but it gives us a chance to talk about that in the comment section or whatever. But today I want to talk about dialogue. So when you're creating characters, what's their voice? You know, what makes them different? And it's when you are creating characters and when you're writing dialogue, it helps if you can think about it like this. If you can tell who a character is based on just the way they talk, then you're doing something right. So, and I try to think about that when I'm designing my characters. I've got sort of an ensemble cast. I've got what is it, like, I think 7 sort of main characters, and then there's some ancillary characters and things like that. But the core group of kids, there's about 7 of them. So sometimes it's really hard to make them all distinct, but I'm always thinking about that. So let me point to where we got here. So this here, first issue of the comic book, Young and the Dead. I want to talk about one of my characters, Mitch. So Mitch is sort of a troublemaker. This is actually the first page right here of the comic book, issue 1. And in introducing him, this is kind of what I wrote. So another thing I wanted to mention is you have to let your audience know who your characters are. So even though it's sort of a natural, when we're talking to people, we don't say, unless we're trying to get their attention, hey Joe. But if you're right next to Joe, you're usually like, okay Joe, all right Joe. You know, you ain't gonna say that, but in comic books you kind of have to do that just so people know who the names of your characters are. So we're starting off, Mitch is like, Sam, you think I could hide out at your house tonight? My parents are coming back from vacation early and I'm dead meat when they do. Turns out dumping Nair in your babysitter shampoo might not have been such a good idea. So we get the idea that he's sort of a troublemaker. And that's the very first line of the story. So we know that right off the bat. And the way Sam responds to that, Sam the other character, are you serious? That's all right with me, Mitch. So again, we're mentioning who our characters are just so the audience knows who they are. But anyway, as we go on, and so Mitch is a troublemaker, but he's sort of, he behaves differently when he's around adults. So what he might say around kids is one thing, what he might say around adults is different. So you want to think about how your characters interact with different people, because the way you would talk to your teacher or something is not necessarily the way you would talk to your best friend. You want to keep in mind that when you're writing your dialogue. So as then they go into Sam's house, and he's talking to, Mitch is talking to Sam's mom, and he's like, here we go. Good evening, Mrs. So she's cooking dinner, all right. Good evening, Mrs. Young. It just kind of pauses. Oh, okay. It's been a while since I read this. He says, smells exemplary. May I ask what you're making? And so the way he's not going to talk like that around his friends. So he's kind of sucking up to the parents, making them think he's this good kid, when really he's sort of a troublemaker. So, you know, those are some of the things you want to think about when you're writing dialogue. And then, you know, different characters are going to behave differently, or going to have a different voice as well. So another character of mine, Lloyd, this guy right here. Can you see that? Is it kind of blurring out? Yeah, so he's like one of my favorite characters. The idea behind him, when I was designing, he's sort of been kind of like a nerd all his life, at least in the eyes of others. You know, he's sort of this D&D kid. He's sort of, you know, he doesn't really fit in with the popular kids and everything. But the twist is when, you know, because he knows all about zombies and he knows all about these things. So when this apocalypse happens, kind of things switch around, and now he's the guy people are looking to help out, because he knows all about this stuff, and he's practiced like fighting with his wooden swords and everything like that. So whereas before he was kind of the zero, now he's the hero. So things turn around, and there's another character, Rocky, who's sort of, you know, he's sort of like the jock, the popular kid, and he's totally out of place in this new world, because he's just, this isn't what he used to. He's out of sorts and everything. But anyway, so this character, Lloyd, you know, he talks like maybe he would in like the Middle Ages or something. So his first line of dialogue when we first meet him, so Sam, our main character, he's like, Lloyd, thanks, because Lloyd just kind of saves them from one of the zombies, and Lloyd he's kind of like, your gratitude, although appreciated, is unnecessary, Samwise. And that's the other thing. Different characters might refer to other characters in different ways, like Buddy or something like that, or whatever. They might not call him by name. So he calls Sam Samwise just because he's a fan of Lord of the Rings, and, you know, anyway. So it is my sworn duty as a warrior and a friend. Oh, it is. He says it's unnecessary. It's my sworn duty as a warrior and a friend. Now go seek shelter. So as we go on, we learn just the way he talks. He doesn't really talk in contractions and things. It's proper. It's more, you know, old worldly, even though he lives in modern times. And this is just kind of one of his personal quirks. So, and you want to do that with characters. And the other thing is, you know, characters, again, not all characters get along. I think I alluded this yesterday. But we've got two characters. We've got, like I said, Rocky, who, we're going back into the second issue as we introduce more characters. Let's see, okay, so we've got Rocky, who's sort of this popular kid, and Ox, who's sort of, her family defected from Russia. This is back in the 80s where, you know, I guess it's getting similar to what it is now, but we were definitely at odds with the Russians back then. So he's not too crazy about her. So there's a little bit of a, you know, sort of prejudice going on here. So as they're starting to sort of team up, he's like, and referring also to Lloyd, he's like, unbelievable, the loser D&D nerd and the commie, just what we need. And then, you know, Ox, who, she's very, you know, straightforward, and she's not going to take any of that garbage. She's like, what did you call me, Ricardo? Your name is Ricardo, isn't it? And he says, haha, it's Ricardo, and only my parents call me that. My friends call me Rocky, and you're neither, Pinko. So, you know, from that exchange, we know that these two don't like each other, and you know, he's not going to call her by her name. He's going to call her, you know, he's going to call her derogatory terms, and she's going to do the same back. So the way your characters interact with each other, that's another thing. So something to think about. Again, that we could go on forever, but we're not going to do that because we want to get back into creating comics. But again, I want to start a dialogue in the comments section. So what are some of your thoughts on dialogue and some of your tips and things? Let me know. And one of these days, when we get done with this whole 100 days of making comics, I want to sit down and actually do some, list or something and go a little deeper into this stuff, because I'm just touching the surface right now. But we're going to move on. We're going to go up here to the paralleloscope and see where we are in the 100 days of making comics challenge. Let's check it out.
It's going to be another short drawing day. Well, actually, not the drawing part isn't short. As far as, if you guys haven't been able to notice, this is sped up quite a bit. I don't actually draw this quickly. It is the 30 minutes, so I put in the 30 minutes. But since we kind of had that long intro, I just decided to do this sort of mini series within the challenge where I talk about designing characters. So tomorrow I'm going to do another one. I've got one other thing I want to touch on characters. So hopefully you guys are digging that. But right now we're going back to actually working on this double page spread. And if you watched yesterday, like I said, I start real light with my non-photo blue pencil. This is my drafting pencil that I use. And then I gradually get a little darker once I figure out kind of where my lines are. And even then, sometimes I have to go back. And the stuff, it will erase, but it's not the best. So I kind of start off light and start building up and everything. But hopefully you can kind of see a little bit where I'm going with it this time. You've got this guy in the foreground, Dave. He's sort of the computer guy that they ventured off to find him to unlock some computer files that they had. Of course, this takes place in the 80s, so this is all very, we're talking, floppy disks and not a whole lot of information on them, and all that old stuff, that's kind of fun to draw. And actually, you know what? I realized that when I'm doing this, he's got headphones on, and as you can see, I have to erase the headphones because the last issue originally had headphones, but he took them off. So he sans headphones at this point. But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That's why I want to start. I start off drawing light. So if you have to go back and make those kind of changes. And of course, if I was to do what I originally planned off and do digital, that wouldn't be a problem. And I'm hoping to go back to digital, but this one I just decided to do traditionally. So that's where we are right now. And I'll show another art exhibit.
All right, wrapping up another day of 100 days of making comics. So we're going to take day 59. Pull that off the sheet, crumple it up, toss it in the basket, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 60. That is all. Hey everyone, you've seen the process. Now you can check out the story. Issues 1 through 3 of Young and the Dead are available at my website at serkworks.com. Also follow me on social media at the links listed below. Subscribe and check out some of the other videos in the series. There's much more to come.